Hello and welcome to the Onion Chronicles, the things that make you cry when you start peeling off the layers. Today I have a discussion about something that has made me want to cry very much this week, and so I figured, why not chop onions and just get those tears out? So I'm just gonna go on ahead and slip on my gloves. Is a nice little start to it. So these gloves are not my glove of choice. They are the only ones available to me. As a restaurant, I have to wear gloves. You can see they don't fit my hands properly. They're not very tight, but they do the trick. Sanitation, safety. Public safety is key. Businesses, especially restaurants, are trained to keep public health and safety in mind. We have to go through a food safety training. We have to do an allergen awareness training. And we, to be able to operate currently, have to follow some very strict restrictions and guidelines per state regulations. It varies from state to state. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of this, because I recently have come into some very disturbing information, and I don't know how to process it. So this is how I'm going to process it: by cutting onions. So the year 2020 has definitely been dominated by talk of COVID, with the occasional underlying talk of, BLM and presidential elections and a couple other things here and there. But for the most part, I think we can all agree that COVID has been the number one topic of 2020. Now, as far as COVID goes, you have the people that believe it's real and the people that don't. I'm not even going to tell you what side I'm on, because the information that I am about to give affects both sides. Yes, over 200,000 people have died. I am a business that has stayed open and operational throughout this entire ordeal. I run a hot dog shop. We, in March, paid close attention to what is going on with COVID. I run this place. This is my livelihood. So I personally have been glued to any information relating to COVID, trying to weed out the facts from the fiction, trying to translate in my own way what the heck is going on. So anyways, we made the decision, my husband and I, to remain open. Our deciding factor was, because while all this is going on and all these at-home orders were going into place and the quarantines and stuff, my thought was, we've been here since 1966. We are an anchor to people. What do people need in times of tumultuous change is an anchor. So for a sense of normalcy for the people that come here, however many that is, they can have some sort of normalcy. So we locked up our dining room and kept our takeout window open and put these very strict social distancing measures in place. Day to day, we followed the ever-changing regulations and always made sure that public safety was our number one priority. Public safety includes the employee safety and employee health. I had employees, I had a conversation with all of them. Some of them chose to leave. They didn't want to work because they didn't want to bring COVID home to their families. They didn't want to be exposed. That was absolutely 100% fine. There was one point in time it was myself and 2 other employees. That's all that there was. perfect time to cue the tears. We closed down for Mother's Day weekend, and only because we were so busy because everybody else around us closed down and exhausted from trying to maintain public health that we needed some days off. So I gave my employees 4 days. So for this entire thing, we were closed outside of normal hours for 4 days. I did have to change my business hours temporarily. We ended up closing on Tuesdays just so that I could make sure that my employees had a day off. 1 day off aside from Sunday, because we're not open on Sundays. Again, that has to do with public health, mental health, all that jazz. I had always told my employees, if you don't feel comfortable working here, by all means, please, you don't have to. I'm not going to force this on you just because I want to stay open. Then came the $600 that was associated with the unemployment, and we all know this story. It's been rough on employers of small businesses, especially because we can look at the big picture and say, wow, the difference between Phoenix and Walmart is exponential. I have actually been able to formulate a very strong relationship with my local board of health, which I guess is a blessing from this. So I am able to reach out to them to discuss what's going on and how I can approach things safely and all that fun stuff. So, all right, that was a really long setup. So recently, or throughout this whole thing, let me just say this, I have made sure that if any of my employees come to me and say, I ask them to call me because I don't want them to come to me, and say if any of their family members have been tested positive for COVID, I need them to do their 14-day quarantine. That sucks for me. I'm down a person. I have 4 employees and now I'm down a person. Okay, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to because it's for public safety's sake. All right. So with that, the 14-day quarantine, and at the end of their quarantine, I require them to get tested for COVID and provide a negative test result to me. That has been the standard, as long as I've understood, for public safety. It doesn't matter if you're asymptomatic. It doesn't matter. If you have COVID, you have COVID and you are a risk. That is what we have been told. Recently, I had this situation happen to me. The first time in this whole thing, so we're talking about October, I had this happen. I did the right thing. 14 days. Quarantine yourself, get tested. I was presented at the end of this 14-day quarantine, not me, but an employee, with a positive test result. So I said, I need you to provide with me a doctor's note releasing you back to work. I didn't think I had to state that a negative test result needed to be with this, because I was under the impression that positive COVID results meant you were a risk. I think we all have. So anywho, I was presented a doctor's note a couple days later stating that this employee had tested twice positive for COVID. And because they are asymptomatic, that they should be returned to work. You know, I kind of stuttered on that because I still can't wrap my head around it. My positive COVID employee should be returned to work. So there are no words. So I immediately called my board of health and said, what is with this quacky doctor? What is going on? You may want to check into this because this is crazy. This isn't right. And this is either a fake or we got issues in Fall River.